Well, I served my first 5 years in the Navy out of Halifax, and my last 25 years I was in REME, it's Royal Canadian Electrical Mechanical Engineers, and I served all over the country, plus over in Germany.
Korea, Cyprus, down Jamaica, Norway.
Well, I operated out of Halifax and down through the States and Mexico, all them places. Gibraltar, I went to Africa, all circumnavigated Africa, and Barcelona, Spain, France, all those places up in there.
Camp Hill is home to 147 World War II and overseas Korean War veterans. As the number of living war veterans decreases, so does the number of veterans occupying beds at Camp Hill. I followed 3 veterans who served their country for a combined total of 82 years. 2 of them are struggling to get into Camp Hill because, according to the rules, they don't qualify. Peter Stoffer is a former NDP Member of Parliament who is well known for his advocacy for veterans. He has pushed for the qualifications at Camp Hill to change for years.
Right now, the qualifications for Camp Hill is that you are in either a World War II or Korean War overseas veteran. So that means you had to have been overseas in World War II or Korea during the wars in order to ascertain long-term care at Camp Hill. The province owns and operates Camp Hill through Capital Health, but they allow the odd time non-veteran residents to go into Camp Hill when they have an overflow from the BG or Dartmouth General or things of that nature. Anyone else is not permitted into Camp Hill. The qualifications of that need to change.
Robinson Blackhurst thinks so too. He joined the Canadian Navy as an engineer in 1952. He served for 25 years building frigates and fixing ships. Blackhurst was diagnosed with asbestosis in 2012, a disease that is common amongst military members. It hardens the lungs, making it difficult to breathe. In 2015, Blackhurst had a stroke. He lived at the Dartmouth General for 3 months. During his time there, he watched civilians get into Camp Hill, yet he was denied because he didn't serve overseas. He's been living here at Arborstone Nursing Home since April 2015.
When I joined the Navy, I was 16, and it was during Korea. I couldn't go to Korea because I was only 16, but I was here. And so they hold that against you, you didn't go. Well, I don't make out the draft jets, the government does that. I was here and ready to go, but they wouldn't let me. So then you can't go to Camp Hill because you never went to Korea. It's a catch-22 thing.
Sandy is Blackhurst's daughter. She says it was frustrating trying to get him into Camp Hill.
I guess I was just at a loss. I was having a hard time trying to wrap my mind around them telling us that he couldn't get in because of his service time. Meanwhile, they're saying that the province can put anybody in there, but the federal government's not going to pick up the tab for it. But yet they pick up, they help him to be here, but they weren't helping him to be there. It was very frustrating to know, he served his time, and now you're telling us that you're not going to take care of him.
Kenneth White is a Korean veteran who calls Camp Hill home. He lived in a nursing home until his wife passed away in 2012. He says coming to Camp Hill made a big difference.
The nurses are great, and we get the chance to get out. There's a lot of people here that have served where I've served, and we have a lot to talk about.
What's your favorite part about living here?
Well, that's a good question. The nurses are fantastic. I'm the chairman of the food committee, so the food's not too bad.
Kenneth says he would like to see the qualifications change so more veterans could live at Camp Hill.
Well, I'm not happy with them. I think there's lots of people who've served in wars after Korea that they've just not considered them. I have a nephew that spent a year over in Afghanistan, and people like him should have a place to go when they get too old to look after themselves. So I'm not happy with that.
Across the bridge in Dartmouth, Eileen Smith is fighting to get her husband, John, into Camp Hill. Smith was diagnosed with dementia in September 2015. Smith was in the Army for almost 30 years. He spent more than a year as a peacekeeper in Korea. But because he was there after the armistice was signed, he doesn't qualify to get into Camp Hill.
I missed it by a month or so. The killing, the killing that went on. They signed a truce then. It's still on now. Been on for quite a while. Since 53 to now. Been on.
And what do you think of them saying no to you?
Not very nice, but what else can they do?
In November, Eileen wrote a letter to Kent Hare, the Veterans Affairs Minister. Since then, she's only received a confirmation by mail that he received her message.
It's not right at all. The Korean War started in 1950 and it ended July the 27th, 1953. He got over there in October 1953. Now, Canada, you just don't send the military over and not prepare for it. So they were preparing to go to war. And then he missed going. But he put his life on the line for 13 months over there as a peacekeeper.
For John Smith, not to be allowed into Camp Hill is a travesty of compassion and humanitarianism. The reality is the federal government and the provincial government should hang their heads in shame, in absolute shame, for putting him through this. The man served in Korea. It was the federal government that determined when he went to Korea, but he went anyway. And to say that he was safe or conditions were less after the war, no, Korea was a basket case in 1952-53. It was terrible.
Well, we're looking at this in a holistic fashion on how that best recognizes the healthcare system the way it is today, and what most of our veterans are asking for, to live in their communities closer to their families. Let me point out that the gentleman you're referencing should the provincial government wish, they could find him a bed at Camp Hill. The provincial government is responsible for that hospital, and they could make that decision. We are going to ensure that any veteran who needs a contract bed will get it, and our department will see that that is done. Full stop. That no one will go without the long-term care needs they desire.
Dee's words are anything but satisfying for the families of veterans who have been denied care at Camp Hill.
When you lay your head down at night, that you're going to be able to close your eyes and sleep, knowing that you did the right thing by changing the rules that you've had that the government has had for 50 years with regards to veterans, and show the respect to the veterans that have served our country and still serve, the respect that they deserve and should be shown, not just when they're young, but as they age, when they might need you, as my husband John is.